Thank you for joining us today for this presentation for expected parents at the University of Kentucky. Today we have panelists with us representing the university leadership as well as members of our HR team. We have with us Ann Bassoni. She is a therapist in the Office of Work Life. Azetta Beatty, HR manager in the Office of Work Life. We have Gail Carbol, our HR manager with UK Benefits. We also have GT Lineberry, who is the Associate Provost for Faculty Advancement, and Lindsey Powell, who is our Family Medical Leave Administrator. So we're going to start our presentation off just giving a quick overview of the services offered in the Office of Work Life. We offer therapy services. Our therapists are available to offer 5 free sessions per fiscal year for individuals as well as their family members. They offer group presentations across campus as well. So if you have a department that would love to have someone come and talk about a mental health related topic, you can reach out to us and schedule a presentation. They also offer different types of screenings and lots of other wonderful resources. We also offer childcare and parenting related resources. Within those resources, we have a lot of great options on our website. So please do check out the website to find a complete list of our services and resources offered. If you are a parent or new parent, you're welcome to join our Working Parents Network. This network is comprised of UK employees that are interested in connecting with other parents. This could be an opportunity to share resources, ask questions, even meet a new friend. We also have Big Blue Family Care, which is a child care referral service that employees can submit an online form indicating that they want some type of child care. This will be part-time, occasional child care, such as after school, nights, and weekends. We offer an annual summer camps fair. We also offer support for lactation, and we have a wonderful guide called Little Cat's Guide, which is a priceless resource for expected parents. And we have, of course, website tools that allow you to search for childcare centers and other childcare related topics. We have a elder care coordinator that assists employees that find themselves in the elder care caregiver stage where they may be assisting. It could be a spouse or a family member. And there's a variety of concerns and just different needs when it comes to elder care. So our consultant is available to assist employees as they are seeking out different types of resources. If you connect with this resource, you can also join our listserv and be put on our list to receive newsletters and information about upcoming events. Our office also supports the university's efforts to allow employees to have flexible work arrangements, and those arrangements vary. It could be adjusted time where you're just flexing your time within a day or within a week. We also offer reduced seasonal hours, remote and hybrid work options, compressed week options, and simply reducing your hours. So as we launch into our presentation today, there's a few things we want you to consider. As an expected parent, we know that there's a lot of things that cross your mind. And not only are you thinking about names, but you're also thinking about childcare and so many other things. So just coming from an employee's perspective, we want you definitely to start looking into the leave options and the benefit options so that you can be prepared. We also want you to think about the length of timing and how much leave time you have. Also, of course, be thinking about childcare, and highly recommended that you sign up to be on listservs as soon as possible. And then, of course, you want to think about your plan, your exit plan, and your re-entry plan.
Hi, everybody. This is Ann. I am going to talk to you a little bit about thinking about what you might need to do before you leave for your paternity or maternity leave, and what you might think about when you return. And this is I referenced where I got some of this information, and I also have received some of this information from parents and employees who have shared with me some of their hardships and how they have overcome it and what they've done to prepare. So the first thing is to develop a transition plan, and I think there's the personal one, but there's also the work one, and it has been suggested that before you leave, you document all the projects that you have going on and any processes that you are a part of, and so that if somebody else is doing them, they know how to do what you're doing and in what time frame, and that's a good intro into. It would be wise to talk to your supervisor about coverage options, like who might be doing those important tasks that you normally do or have to be done, and so that you can talk to that person and let them know what's expected, how to do it, things like that, so that the things keep running smoothly. You also, and I hadn't thought of this before, but someone told me about a "if I go into labor at work" document. And on that piece of paper that she shared with a couple of her coworkers, it had where she was going to deliver the baby, her OBGYN, their phone number, or the doula or the midwife, any emergency contacts, a couple people to call who can then get everybody else that might need to be there. And like I said, she shared that with a couple coworkers. She didn't need it, but just in case, it cut down on her panic and that of others around her. And another smart idea is, if you plan to breastfeed, is before you leave, block out some pumping times on your calendar. And if it turns out you don't need them as much as you thought, you can always take them off, but it's hard. It'll be easier to take those off than try to find places in there. So if you do that before you leave, then hopefully meetings and other things don't get put in during those times, and you'll be able to keep a schedule. And one thing I think is interesting, and I do this even when we just have short breaks, but that is to write down all your passwords to get into your computer, to get into any programs that somebody else might be needing, so that when you come back and you're kind of in a baby brain fog, you don't have to think as hard. That your passwords are right there. You know what you need to do. You might write down, your login info, those kind of things that you might just not be thinking about and therefore forget or can't recall in the moment. So that's some office things. And then you also want to, if you're planning on using a daycare, to be looking at daycares and getting signed up for daycares. So that's in place, and also choose a pediatrician. Some people have told me that some pediatricians only take newborns, so if you're signed up beforehand, then you're ready to go. But you can ask your friends, coworkers, get some information about who they recommend, check them out, and then you're ready to go after the baby's born. And then I like this one too, because in the movies we always see the frantic parent trying to get their partner to the hospital or the delivery place, and one thing or another goes wrong. So it's recommended that you try taking that route, figuring out what route is quickest at what time of the day to get you to delivery, and have that practice. And of course, you have your bags ready and things like that. And one thing about, this isn't a to-do, but it's a, I had one woman who was getting ready to go on maternity leave, and she was so proud of this to-do list she had. And I just remember talking to all these parents, and none of them ever got to do a to-do list, because this is going to be about you recovering from delivery and childbirth and learning how to be a mom and taking care of your baby. There's not going to be always a lot of extra time to rearrange the living room or paint the walls and things like that. So, try to be realistic about what to expect. And when you're getting ready to return, if you're breastfeeding, it's a good idea to pump some extra and have it, there in case something happens that you are not producing enough, or you need more, you need to take some somewhere. So it's a good idea to start freezing a little bit. If you're bottle feeding, it would be helpful, especially if they're going to daycare or, someone else is going to be taking care of them, that you let other people feed the baby with the bottle so that the baby gets used to being fed by someone other than their humans that are taking care of them. So that's just a way that hopefully would smooth some of that transition. And also this thought of practicing your, the routine of when you go back. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So one thing I think that's important to know, there's a lot of, do this, don't do this, but I would really encourage you all to go easy on yourselves when you come back, because after childbirth, your hormones are rearranging, coming back, moving forward, doing a dance, and it's all new. And you might be more sensitive, you might be more emotional, you're definitely going to be more tired. And those things tend to make us a little more sensitive. So, be aware of that. Be aware that you probably aren't going to come back, at the full speed of how you were when you left. So just be ready for it. Be ready for some of that fatigue, that it might be harder to remember things. You might be moving a little bit slower. Maybe at lunchtime, you take a nap. Your focus and your concentration are not going to be as sharp. And one thing one of my clients told me was that when she was at work, every time she started to think of the baby, that sometimes her breast would leak. So she learned to bring some extra clothes just in case that happened while she was at work, so she didn't have to walk around self-conscious or leave. And then the guilt part of, for some people, some parents are really glad to get back to work and they feel a little guilty. Others feel really guilty when they have to come back to work and leave their baby with somebody else. And it's natural. It's normal to feel that way. It's normal not to. Everybody is a little bit different. But if it gets to the point where you're really concerned about it, then feel free to give us a call and talk to us, and we'll be happy to walk you through that. And then as far as when you do return, I think it's a great idea to do some practice runs. Maybe if you're taking your baby to daycare, maybe practice getting up at what time you think you're going to have to get up, getting ready with the baby, take the baby actually to daycare that day, and then, and see how much time it takes. And you want to do it at the time that you would be going to work, because, you want to get traffic right. You want to find out where there's glitches. What is it taking you as long as you thought, or is it quicker than you thought? And then if you leave the baby, then, maybe you go get your hair cut, or you get ready to go back to work. Maybe you buy a new outfit. I don't know, but go and pamper yourself and get ready to go. And that's just having a trial run. Some parents will go ahead and bring their baby to work so that their baby knows where they're going. And, not that they're going to remember, but you will know this. And then also it shows your coworkers that this is what you've been doing while you've been off, that here's this little human that you're taking care of. And it's, babies tend to bring out the best in us, usually. And so it'd be a way to introduce, and it's a quick trip into the office to get you ready. And when you return to the office, it is recommended that you start maybe on a Thursday. So you go a couple days and then you have the weekend to catch up, rather than starting on a Monday and having to go all week after being off for a while. So those are some things to recommend. Let's see. If you can gradually return, that's a good idea, and that's something to talk about with your supervisor maybe before you leave. And if any of these things change while you are out, it's always good to communicate with the supervisor, whoever's in charge, to talk these things over. You definitely will want to talk to other working moms, and we have some good groups here on campus, but it's also helpful to find moms with children or babies the same age. And I think of my sister-in-law, she was in a birthing group, and there was probably 10 parents in there, And I'd say that she's really close to 6 of them, that they all tend to do things together. And she's found this to be really, really helpful for her. And the gradual return, I'm not sure if there's an official policy. We'll ask Gail when she comes on. But that's it would be something that could be helpful. And by that, I was thinking like maybe instead of being out for 5 weeks or 6 weeks, you're out for 5, and you use that other week to maybe take off a couple Fridays just to kind of ease back in. But of course, you do need to think about what other people might need. So those are some recommendations. These references on the bottom are excellent resources. They have a lot of good ideas that are really helpful. And I'm happy to talk to anybody if you'd like us to talk one-on-one more about this, or you are struggling when you get back. It is not unusual. I think they say that at least 10% of new parents experience some sadness or depression after the baby is born. So that's normal. But if it gets to a concerning point where you're finding it more difficult to take care of the baby, or you are thinking of hurting yourself or someone else, definitely give us a call and let's talk about that and get you back on track.
Okay, my name is Lindsey Powell, and as Azetta said before, I am the Family Medical Leave Administrator. And the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the paid parental leave. Now you see the big stars on here because this is something that is pretty new. It began July the 1st, 2021. And just some information here about the new paid parental leave. The eligibility information, so it is for regular staff employees. Doesn't cover faculty, doesn't cover postdocs or WIPs. You do have to be a 0.5 FTE and above. And it covers childbirth and adoption. And those dates, it has to be a new event that begins on or after July the 1st. So if the baby's born on July 1st or later, then that is a possible qualifying event for the paid parental leave. Some general information about the paid parental leave. So it does provide 2 weeks of paid leave based on the employee's FTE. So for example, if I applied for paid parental leave, I work 40 hours a week. And if I was granted the 2 weeks, then I would be given 80 hours of paid parental leave. As I mentioned before, and there's a reason that it's in here twice, because it's extremely important that you know that it is for the birth of a child or for the adoption of a child. It does not cover foster care. And it's extremely important that everyone understands that it's for a new event that begins on or after July the 1st. So unfortunately, if the baby was born prior to July 1st, that is the cutoff point. Is July 1st. So the baby does have to be born after that in order to be eligible for the paid parental leave. The paid parental leave does run concurrently with family medical leave, which we'll talk about in a few slides. And it does not provide an additional 2 weeks on top of the 12 weeks of family medical leave. So they do have to run concurrently with each other. You can take the paid parental leave anytime within 6 months after the birth or adoption of the child. And an important thing to note is I've mentioned in here that it is for childbirth and for adoption. Foster care is not covered under the paid parental leave, but family medical leave does cover foster care. So that, even though the paid parental leave is something that's not available, family medical leave is definitely an option, and we strongly encourage employees to apply for that. Applying for the paid parental leave is pretty easy. If you qualify, the first step to this is, of course, filling out a family medical leave application. Because those work together, You apply for the family medical leave, and if you're approved and you qualify, then you actually don't need to fill out any additional paperwork to get the paid parental leave. What happens at that point is we automatically put your name on the list for processing for the paid parental leave. If something happens and you are not eligible for family medical leave, which we'll talk about the eligibility requirements in the next slide, then you will have to complete the paid parental leave application. And you can find all that information here on the link there that we've got listed. Now we're going to shift just a little bit into family medical leave. So family medical leave provides eligible UK employees to take up to 12 work weeks of leave in a 12-month period for a qualifying event. Now, it's important to note that the family medical leave is unpaid job protected leave, and it covers childbirth, adoption, and the placement of a child through foster care or through adoption, of course. The reason that we mention a lot of things about like the paid parental leave going together with family medical leave is because the family medical leave piece is unpaid job protection. And here at UK, you're required to use your available accruals concurrently with FML in order to get paid. So those accruals are your TDL or your sick time, vacation, holiday time, and then the paid parental leave time will become, if you're approved for that, will become another available accrual for you to use during those 12 weeks. So that's an important thing to note. There are eligibility requirements for family medical leave. So you do have to have worked at UK for 12 months, and you have to have worked 1,250 hours in the last 12 months. An important thing to note, the TDL piece, the temporary disability leave, and family medical leave prior to January the 1st, 2020, there were some restrictions on how much TDL time that you were allowed to use during FML for the birth of a child, but those restrictions have been removed. So as of January 1st, 2020, you can now use as much TDL and all of the TDL as applicable for that qualifying event. So that's a good thing. Short-term disability is another great option to help with pay during your family medical leave, but that is something that's a third-party benefit, and Gail will speak about that in a little bit. So it doesn't affect how your accruals are used while you're on family medical leave. So you do still have to use your accruals, even if you do have the short-term disability. I mentioned briefly the qualifying events. There are several different types, but in this, for the specifics of this lunch and learn, we are just going to talk about the birth of a child and to care for that newborn child, the placement of a child with an employee through adoption, and foster care. Those are the pieces that we're going to talk about here today. It does qualify both male and female parents. So both male and female parents get the exact same rights and they have the same responsibilities. But another piece that it also covers is pregnancy and prenatal care. So you can use family medical leave for any family medical leave, for any pregnancy or illness. And that can cover things like extreme morning sickness, medical bed rest. If you have hypertension or high blood pressure, it can cover things like that, but it does require an additional family medical leave application or additional information from your healthcare provider in order for us to approve that intermittent leave. And then any family medical leave that's used before the birth, it's important to know that that does take away for the total number of days and weeks that's available to take after the baby's born. The family medical leave process for this specific situation is you need to submit a family medical leave application as soon as reasonably possible. So we always tell our employees to go ahead and get that submitted as soon as you find out. Around week 20 or so, But you are required to submit that no later than 30 days prior to the birth or prior to your estimated delivery date. Obviously, you guys are not going to know the actual start date. So what we do ask is we ask that you use the estimated delivery date as the start date. And then you want to simply let us know how many weeks you want to take off after the birth. If you're an eligible employee, we'll do a tentative approval for reflecting the estimated delivery date. And then once the baby's born, you just need to contact us via email and let us know the actual date of birth or the actual hospitalization date, whichever one causes you to miss work first if they're on different days. And we will recreate that letter reflecting the actual dates. So you can send that email to the leave admin fmla@uky.edu. But it is important to note that when we issue that tentative FML approval, that's going to reflect your estimated delivery date. And that does not mean that your FML is going to start no matter what on that date. FML can only start on the date of hospitalization, the date of birth, or the date that you're placed on medical bed rest. So we just go ahead and issue that tentative approval, just so you know that you are approved, and it goes ahead and gets that piece of having the FMLA application completed prior to the birth, because we don't want you worrying about family medical leave paperwork while you're in the hospital with that new baby. That's the last thing that we want you to worry about. So it is important that you let us know that one of those things happen, and we're able to get that updated for you. Family medical leave can be taken in as continuous, of course, but it is available as intermittent. So prior to the birth, you can use family medical leave for physician appointments or pregnancy related illnesses. I know we kind of mentioned this before. If you're going to use intermittent FML prior to the date of birth, we do have to have additional information. And then if intermittent family medical leave is needed after the birth, there has to be a new FMLA application completed. And intermittent is used only when there's a serious health condition involved. Now, the phased return to work, this is similar to the gradual return that Ann Bassoni mentioned a few moments ago. But, you could, if you're normally working 5 days a week, you can request to do a phased return to work through family medical leave. So instead of taking 12 weeks, you might take 10 weeks, and then those last 2 weeks can be spread out over the next month or so for you to start working, 3 days a week, just to get to work back into things. But it is important to note that that is up to department approval. So you do want to discuss that with your department. And then it is for a pre-approved reduced schedule, and it doesn't allow call-ins. So what that would look like is you would give your supervisor about a week's notice on the days of the week that you would be working. And it does become your new set schedule for the week.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm GT Lineberry and currently serve as the Associate Provost for Faculty Advancement. And I really appreciate being on the panel today with my HR colleagues. And I think I must begin by saying how carefully my office has worked with my HR counterparts in trying to be consistent with the leave options that are available for faculty for birth, adoption, and guardianship. And so much so that when I reviewed the slides earlier today, I had difficulty determining where my presentation would begin, in fact. But I see now that it says faculty consideration, so I guess that cues me in. The HR Policy 82 is really written for staff, but many of the precepts and principles that are contained in 82 have been maintained for the application of the rules and policies and practices that we employ on the faculty side. At the risk of kind of dating this video, I always say that we have about 3,000 full-time faculty, got about 5 times that number of staff. And so we have a fair number every year of parents, thankfully, that welcome additions to their families. And so we have adopted a very good policy on FML and TDL for faculty. And that was last revised in November of 19. And the link for that policy is given on this slide. And it's also posted on the OFA website. That's the Office for Faculty Advancement. And so within that document, you'll see how we go about applying for this, receiving it, and even some examples, some real live examples of the TDL policy for faculty. Next slide. As you may or may not know, faculty do not accrue sick days as a function of the time at the institution. In other words, there's no bank of sick days for faculty. Upon one's employment as a full-time faculty member at UK, regardless of your title series, you may have up to 6 months of paid leave for your own personal illness. So we have actually had faculty that have begun their careers with us and then very soon thereafter go on a leave for their own health condition or for a birth, adoption, or guardianship event. Faculty temporary disability leave, which we call TDL, is granted by the provost. TDL is one of, I think, 7 different leave options as defined in Governing Regulation 10. And important to note there again is that faculty members are eligible for TDL at the onset of employment. There is no service requirement for faculty for paid TDL. It's important that faculty members report their periods of sickness and have that temporary disability leave officially approved, but we have granted up to 10 days of discretion to the unit level, the department level typically, between 11 and 20 days to the college, and so a dean can approve that. And leave that's in excess of 20 days falls under the prerogative of the provost. There's a presumed 30 working days recovery period for childbirth or child placement, and that's 8 weeks if the delivery is by cesarean. And however, it's important to note that faculty and employee may take up to 12 weeks of leave under the FML language, but only 6 to 8 weeks of that will be paid. The balance could be taken, but it would need to be taken as vacation or no pay status. So we have really taken steps to make the FML and TDL process very similar, nearly the same, let's say, between faculty and staff. A faculty member's available paid leaves must be used concurrently with FML, just like staff. I think it's important to note that requesting and granting family medical leave is applicable only during the actual assignment period for faculty. So if you're on a 9-month contract and let's say the baby arrives in July, that's the date of the event, and that's when the 12 weeks interval will begin. And so you may take 6 weeks, 8 weeks if it's a cesarean delivery from any time from that event period until the expiration of that 12 weeks. We have, for example, fathers that may elect to take the back end of that 12 weeks off, beginning in week 7, say. And non-tenured faculty in tenure-eligible title series may apply for an extension of the probationary period. And since we have gone through this COVID disruption, we have instituted an opportunity for probationary period delay requests. But I do want to point out that for new parents Again, that's for either the birthing parent or the non-birthing parent. Both parents are eligible for what will become, it's an automatic approval of a probationary period extension for birth, adoption, or guardianship. I want to conclude by stating that I'm available to answer any questions that faculty might have about their leave options. The associate deans in your college or your business officers should be familiar with most of these things as well. But either contact me or contact Katie Cardarelli at the email, or look us up and call us the old-fashioned way over the telephone. So anyway, thank you and best wishes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gail with Benefits, and I want to begin by providing you our contact information to ensure that every one of you, if you have a question, that you get it answered. You can call our customer service line by calling the number shown and pressing option 3, or emailing benefits@uky.edu. With your leave time, or if you plan on reducing or taking unpaid leave, you'll want to ensure that your paycheck has enough money or payment so that your portion of your benefit earnings are reduced. You can make arrangements to catch up premiums, and this works to your benefit because, as you know, like your dental and vision and health insurance are all taken pre-tax. So to ensure the pre-tax situation carries through, it's to your benefit to go ahead and have those pulled from your paycheck. You will receive the health credit if you work at least 0.75 FTE or greater during your family medical leave. And I shouldn't say that you're working, but during family medical leave, you will qualify for the credit. If you do not qualify for the family medical leave, either because you have not been employed at UK for a year and worked the required hours, or you go through the family medical leave and for some reason you're needing to be off beyond those 12 weeks, and you don't have the sick time, the TDL, or the vacation time to use, then you'll want to be strategic when planning your time off. And here's just a little tip. If you work at least one day in the month and you're 0.75 FTE or more, then you will receive the health credit for that month. So if, like, for example, September 29th, I go into unpaid leave, not under family medical leave, but just unpaid, for some extenuating situation, I will receive the health credit. Well, I should use another example. Let's say I leave on October 2nd. I will receive the health credit for October. And I come back November 29th. I will receive the health credit for November. So just something to keep in the back of your head. My Strength is an app and website for any member that is on a UK health plan. So you may enroll after registering in Anthem's website at anthem.com. And My Strength provides tools to help with stress, depression, anxiety, all of which can be a result of the lack of sleep, which can be a result of having a newborn child in your home. So just remember that it's just one more option in addition to all of our work-life benefits. My Strength. Another program offered through Anthem for any member who is on a UK health plan is Future Moms. It promotes healthy pregnancies, and you can see the results. They speak for themselves, where 30% fewer emergency room visits and 25% less time for babies in the NICU. Most folks have been very happy with this program. When you successfully conclude the program, you're given a very nice book to keep as your own. And then I don't know, many of you are probably very familiar with Live Health Online. This is an online application. If you're covered again by a UK health plan, the members pay 0 copayment. And this is for both doctor visits and behavioral health visits with a licensed therapist. It's very handy when you have a new little one at home. You want to make sure that you take care of yourself. And of course, you can use it for, if the baby is running a fever and you want to, set up a visit, you have a 0 copayment. So there's no reservations and you don't have to take that new baby out, out of the home. Previously mentioned was the short-term disability program. MPM is the broker that offers our voluntary insurance, and short-term disability insurance is a voluntary benefit. So you can select this insurance every year at open enrollment. If you're already pregnant, you'll want to have already selected it. If you don't have it, just keep it in mind if you plan on future children. But it provides an income for up to 6 months. Now, you would need to be qualified. So for most cases, it's going to be either 6 weeks or 8 weeks benefit that you would be eligible for. And then there's elimination, what they call elimination periods. And those are going to either be 14 days or 2 weeks or 30 days. So if you have a 14-day elimination period, those first 2 weeks won't qualify for a benefit. And then after day 15 through either the 6th week or the 8th week, you would receive a coverage amount equal to 60% of your base salary. That's the maximum. And you can choose to be covered for less than your base salary. Let's see, one thing to keep in mind too is that this does run concurrently with your TDL and vacation time. So you may have to budget if you're going to fall later into unpaid leave, but this definitely can help you plan ahead. Also, just a reminder about life insurance. As your family grows, you may want to look at adding more life insurance. And this again would be done at open enrollment. But just keep in mind, with larger families, more children, it could cost, survivors more to care for those children. So a good time to look at that. Karen Miller is with the MPM group. If you want more information on the short-term disability, we've listed her contact information. They're here local and her number is 223-4973. I believe that concludes my portion of the presentation.
All right, so I'm just going to share a few tips on the lactation support that's offered through the university. So if you were to visit our website, you'll see some information about lactation guidelines at the university. And basically, it'll just let you know that there is an option to participate in lactation while you are at work. And there are some federal guidelines that we follow that allow parents to take several breaks throughout their day so that they can pump their milk. And then also we want to make sure that you understand that there is an option to receive a free breast pump per pregnancy. So if you have 3 children, you can get 3 pumps. So that's good news. Parents don't always take advantage of that. Sometimes they're not aware of it, or maybe they get 1 and they're good, even if they have additional children with that 1 pump. So just want to make sure you are aware of that. And there's information about the providers that are approved for that on our website as well. Another thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about lactation prior to leaving, and then when you return, of course, is making sure, as Ann mentioned, that you block out time on your schedule to actually pump, because you may not be thinking about that initially. You may think, of course, I'll just go, but we all tend to have very scheduled lives when it comes to work, and it's very easy for people to schedule things on your calendar, and that could take away your pumping time. And if you don't do that regularly, that also impacts your milk. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind. And with our office, there's different ways that we support parents that are lactating. We have signage that you can hang on your door that we can send you. And that's helpful if you are using a personal office space to pump your milk. You don't necessarily have to use one of our over 20 lactation designated spaces on campus. There's a lot of employees that simply use their office if they have a private office, or they may have a designated space that their department has identified for them that's close to them. Also, when you're thinking about lactation, we know that it's very important to have privacy, to be able to relax and calm down. And so that's just something to think about, that helps you if you have privacy, and it's required also by law. So that's good to note. And we also encourage supervisors to be flexible because everyone is different and you don't really know how that is going to work for you until you are back at work and you're trying to implement it. So please be open with your leadership. If you need to change your schedule, if you need to adjust it in any way, just let them know. All right, so as we conclude our presentation today, I just wanted to mention some upcoming activities and events that are offered by the Office of Work Life. We do have that Working Parents Network that I mentioned. That parenting group meets on the second Tuesdays of the month at noon. They meet for 1 hour. That's a topic meeting. So if you're interested in participating in that, we do have those listed on our calendar on our website, but you can go ahead and mark your calendar for the second Tuesdays of the month. And then we also are going to have a monthly walk and talk on the third Wednesdays at 8:30. That's just 30 minutes. That's an opportunity for parents to connect on campus. We have 2 locations. If you're interested in that, again, feel free to reach out to me or check out the details on our website. We also offer Midday Mingle. This is an informal conversation opportunity that Ann Bassoni and Rhonda Henry leads. They're 2 therapists in our office, and it's just a fun opportunity to connect with other employees, and that's offered every single Monday at noon. And all of these services are virtual. And then we also have an upcoming Mindful Self-Compassion series. It's a 4-part series that will be meeting on Fridays, starting in September. And then we have Real Talk Roundtable with our therapists and our elder care specialists. The next 2 that are coming up really do relate to parents and all employees if they have children. So the first one is October the 19th. They're going to be talking about mental health in children. And then December the 14th, they're going to be talking about depression and anxiety. And those meetings are at 3 p.m. And the roundtable is a very informal conversation where our therapists are literally just online talking to you about that particular topic. And it's an opportunity for employees to just ask questions. And then we have a new series, a hybrid and remote work series. We're going to have 3 of those coming up this semester. One is September, October, and November. So as always, thank you so much for joining us for this presentation today. We are thrilled to have you. We're thrilled to share this knowledge with our employees.